So now we're going to get into our Batman and Bill review here. Batman and Bill was a documentary, a Hulu exclusive documentary. Came out about May 5th, which was about 2 weeks ago, roughly. And we both watched it. And this is kind of our small mini review of that documentary.
Yeah, it is a Wow. It is a documentary, so you can't go, can't critique
Who's the virgin now?
Yeah, you can't critique it too much, but yeah, we just had, a little bit of feedback. So, I guess I'll go first. I thought it was a really interesting documentary, touched on a little bit more than what I knew. I actually thought Lego Batman was the first time that Bill Finger got credit on screen. Turns out it was Batman versus Superman.
Yep.
I didn't even notice that. And
I did.
Really?
I do remember that when I saw it, but I was just like, oh, I didn't really think anything of it.
Yeah. So I remember hearing a lot of things about Bill Finger just kind of over the past couple years.
Right.
As you find out in the documentary, I think it was around 2012. I want to say when he the guy who does the documentary first started doing more extensive research. Right. I want to say that was the timeline. So not too long ago. And I give that guy a lot of credit. He, for whatever reason, had an agenda, I guess is the best way to put it.
Vendetta, man. Fuck.
Yes, that is a good way to put it. That he wanted to make sure that Bill Finger got the appropriate credit. Which, as you learn, even Bob Kane.
Yeah.
Wow, struggling. Even Bob Kane says that he had a huge hand. There's a recording that they have that they play in the documentary that Bill Finger had a huge hand in creating Batman. Some of it's a little bit of speculation.
Yeah, that was kind of my issue with some of the movie. Actually, was it is a documentary, and usually I prefer a documentary with sources and like real not accountability, but like reliability in their source and what they're saying. But it kind of seemed all speculation and hearsay.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole point when they're trying to prove that Bill Finger had a creative process was part of the creative process.
Yeah.
In the beginnings of Batman. He helped describe Robin, he helped Gotham City, a couple other characters, the Joker.
Yeah, a lot of the villains, I guess. I guess he even, again, this is where Matt's talking about the hearsay, is the conversation when Bob Kane first kind of came up with Batman and what he was going to be. Bill Finger came in and said, no, you should, have his ears that are pointed up, and basically change the way that Batman was supposed to look,
right?
According to these different things.
Right, and it's kind of just it's there's no real proof. Really, it all comes down to if Bob Kane doesn't say that on audio, and there may be a couple other people to corroborate the whole thing, there wouldn't be a story here at all.
No,
if he didn't say that about like it was like 60 or 75% of the stuff that he says Bill Finger did,
right?
It kind of makes it it would be almost, I don't think it would be a story at all.
No, yeah.
Well, from what they presented in the documentary.
Right. Yeah, so. And one of my biggest problems with the documentary, which I understand most documentaries do have an agenda, but I thought you put it well. It seemed like he kind of had a vendetta against Bob Kane. Right. Bob Kane became this evil millionaire who didn't do anything, because there was a part where they're talking about at the very beginning, all of I can't think of the name, but there's people who help with comics.
Ghostwriters.
Yeah, thank you, ghostwriters. And that was kind of the borderline of what Bill Finger, either he was a ghostwriter or not, or he had a little bit more, he was a little bit more involved. Yeah. And so it definitely seemed like Bob Kane was the heel who stole Bill Finger's idea and became rich off of it. And then when they're battling, to try to get Bill Finger credit, they're battling the evil corporation that is Warner Brothers that has all this money. So it was painted very like, instead of here's your facts, it was kind of like a movie that has a villain. We finally overcame, and at the end, Bill Finger finally got, what he was supposed to get, even down to which it sounds like the end of his life was sad, but they, made sure to include how he was buried, that it was in, I made a note of it, but I'm not going to read it. It was buried in like one of these, basically
an unmarked grave,
that because he wasn't claimed, he didn't have any family or anything like that, which was kind of weird, because you find out he had a son, and his son turned out to be gay, but his son also had a daughter or something like that.
He became gay later in life. It seemed like.
Yeah. So he had family, and then I guess I
don't think they were living in the same area. It sounded like they were on the West Coast,
right?
And so
but it was kind of weird. They definitely painted the picture that Bill Finger had all this stuff ripped away from him, that he could have been the millionaire and he could have been in the limelight, and Bob Kane kept him down because he wanted all the credit, and that was just kind of the feeling that I got.
Right.
And they even talk about how Bob Kane saw the success of Superman and how much money Siegel and Schuster were making off of him, and that's why he wanted to create Batman.
Yeah.
That's misleading, because Siegel and Schuster had to fight because they sold the rights to Superman.
And they do bring that up a little bit.
They did. But at first I was like, hold on. I actually paused the documentary because I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure I know the history of Superman pretty well. And I was like, it was like $12 or something stupid. I think I probably noted the number, but again, I'm not going to read it. But they sold it for pennies, basically.
Right.
And then they were fighting because they're like, oh shit, we made a mistake. And then the family was fighting, and so they didn't make a whole lot of money right away, and Batman wasn't too far behind Superman.
One of the things that I think this documentary could have helped a little bit, and whether or not it was brought out to them or not, I don't know, but if they would have had some Bob Kane family members in this, giving their description of things that happened, maybe that would have helped balance the movie out a little bit. But they didn't do that. They didn't do that at all.
Right.
It was just solely one-sided, and it was all about the family of Bill Finger.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It was still an interesting documentary.
It was for sure.
I learned some things. I learned some choices, some designs, and like how DC did things and stuff like that with the ghostwriting and how all that went down. And then, but at the end, it kind of made the movie really like try to get you emotional for Bill Finger.
Right.
When it was really a guy that was a ghostwriter that probably contributed a lot to the source material, but it seemed like he kept doing it. Personally, I don't know how much sympathy I can have for a person that goes through decades knowing that he's apparently being used,
right,
and keeps doing it for apparently pennies,
right,
when he could easily branch off
and go, okay, well then I'm just going to create my own shit.
I do my own stuff, but he seemed to stay underneath the boot of everything for so long, and that's what kind of makes it a little bit of a weary documentary, because it's like, all right, this guy was under the boot for so long, and yet he never went anywhere, he never did anything, he never changed anything about doing it, about what was going on. So it kind of seemed like maybe he wasn't contributing that much. I don't know. It kind of left some speculation in my head.
Yeah, that's what a lot of the documentary was. Just a side note, Siegel and Schuster sold the rights to Superman for $130. I did make note of it, so that is okay money back in the day. But anyways,
what it became,
right? Yeah, exactly, and that's why they were going after Warner Brothers and wanted credit and everything like that. So, but yeah, as Matt was saying, there's definitely, I don't want to say tones, but there was a lot. Bias is really well put, because even Mark, the guy who did. I don't even know what the fuck his last name was, but I know his name was Mark. He was kind of billed up as like this savior towards the end, where he's like, I did it. I'm awesome. And it's cool. He obviously did a lot of legwork. He talked to the family. He talked to the granddaughter of Bill Finger, and he's did a lot of the work. But it was really interesting. There was like a part where it was like his shadow was Batman or something like that when he was being cartooned, or something along those lines, where I was like, what the fuck? Like this Mark guy he is a mark for himself.
He's a messiah apparently.
So it was interesting documentary. I just wanted to touch on it because definitely go into it not with emotion. Just kind of look at the facts and don't go, oh, Bob Kane's an idiot, because he obviously had to, unless he is just the most evil, corrupt person, he had to have some hand in creating Batman. Right. He's not this guy that they really painted him to be. At least I don't believe he is.
I mean, we can't confirm any of that, but to make him so vilified in this movie, right, and to make him look like possibly one of the worst human beings of all time, by letting his friend die in like a hotel,
exactly,
of illnesses and shit like that, and just it seems like there's something left out, but it's all speculation at this point, so we can't prove anything. But hey, get the free trial on Hulu like we did. Watch it or find it somewhere and watch it. It's definitely worth a watch.
It
gives
really
you a good history of Batman.
Yep.
And the characters themselves.